Have you ever wondered why some people seem to have boundless energy while others struggle to get through the day? What if I told you that the difference isn't physical vitality, age, or even lifestyle, but something much more fundamental that lies within you right now? But before we begin, please hit the like button and let me know where in the world you're watching from today. It's always fascinating seeing who's joining us from around the world. Imagine waking up each morning with a sense of vitality so profound that challenges become opportunities and obstacles transform into stepping stones. This isn't fantasy. It's the reality of those who have discovered the art of multiplying their energy. Has this ever happened to you? That moment when you were so engaged in something meaningful that hours passed like minutes, and instead of feeling drained, you felt energized? Deep within every human being lies a spring of power and vitality that, once awakened, can transform life itself. This isn't some new age concept. It's a principle as old as humanity, articulated beautifully in the timeless teachings of Emmett Fox. What you're about to discover might surprise you, because it challenges everything we've been taught about energy and fatigue. We've been conditioned to believe that energy is something we possess in limited quantities, that it depletes with use and requires careful conservation. We accept fatigue as inevitable, wear exhaustion as a badge of honor, and resign ourselves to diminishing vitality as we age. But what if this entire framework is nothing more than an illusion? The truth is startling in its simplicity. Energy is not a quantity you own, but a quality of the spirit, and the spirit does not get tired. Stay with me until the end, because understanding this principle alone can revolutionize how you experience every moment of your existence. Think about it. Have you ever noticed how you can spend hours doing something you love and feel invigorated, while just 30 minutes of a dreaded task leaves you completely drained? This isn't coincidence. It's evidence of a profound truth. Your energy levels are not determined by what you do, but by how you do it and from which center you operate. This teaching reveals how to unlock your inner potential, allowing you to radiate strength, enthusiasm, and clarity into every area of your life. Your thoughts, emotions, and intentions are not just passive reflections of your reality. They are active forces that become fuel, enhancing your vital energy and connecting you with the universe's abundance. What if you could learn to tap into this wellspring consistently? What if the power that occasionally surges through you in moments of inspiration, love, or purpose could become your default state? The consequences would be nothing short of transformative. Imagine relationships that energize rather than drain you. Visualize work that fulfills rather than depletes you. Consider a mind that grows sharper, with use, not duller, and a body that strengthens through service rather than deteriorating. In the ancient wisdom traditions, this inner source has been called by many names: Chi, Prana, life force, the divine spark. In Emmett Fox's teaching, it's understood as the expression of the divine within you, the Christ consciousness that doesn't tire, doesn't diminish, and never runs dry. It's a fountain of living water, as Scripture describes it, springing up to eternal life. The journey we're beginning today isn't about adding something new to your life. It's about removing the barriers that have kept you disconnected from your source. It's about transforming your relationship with energy itself. And as we continue to explore this profound art of multiplying your energy And as we explore this profound art of multiplying your energy, we begin to recognize a fundamental revelation that transforms our entire mindset. Emmett Fox teaches us that energy is neither created nor destroyed, it is transformed. This principle mirrors the laws of physics, but extends beyond the physical realm into the spiritual dimension of our being. If you've resonated with this message about unlimited energy and inner transformation, don't let this be just another video you watch and forget. This is about creating lasting change in your life. Subscribe to our channel right now by clicking the button below. Why? Because each week we share profound insights that most spiritual teachers aren't discussing. Practical wisdom that transforms not just your understanding, but your daily experience of life. Our subscribers tell us these teachings have helped them overcome exhaustion, find renewed purpose, and tap into energy they never knew they had. Imagine having access to this wisdom consistently, building upon what you've learned today. Don't miss our upcoming video on activating specific energy centers for healing chronic conditions. It's the perfect companion to what you've just discovered. Join our growing community of seekers who are done with living depleted lives and ready to express their full potential. Hit subscribe now, turn on notifications, and take the first step toward the energized, purpose-filled life you were designed to live. Your transformation doesn't end with this video. It's just beginning. Subscribe now and continue the journey with us. When we learn to channel this energy wisely, something remarkable happens. Our days become infused with vitality, not because we've added something external, but because we've removed the internal barriers blocking our natural flow. Our decisions gain power, clarity, and impact. Our spirit rises, not momentarily, but consistently. This inner journey aligns mind and heart, expanding our strength from within. The wisdom I'm sharing isn't new, it's ancient. In Scripture, Jesus spoke of this when he told the Samaritan woman at the well about living water that becomes a fountain springing up into everlasting life. Isaiah captured this truth beautifully when he wrote, "Those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint." These aren't poetic metaphors. They're precise descriptions of a spiritual reality that's been hidden in plain sight. The transformation begins when we recognize the fundamental misconception that's been limiting us. For generations, we've been subjected to an ancient error that has kept us living beneath our true potential. We've been conditioned to believe that energy is a finite resource that must be carefully managed and conserved. In this flawed paradigm, fatigue becomes inevitable, exhaustion becomes proof of effort, and depletion becomes the expected outcome of accomplishment. This hidden belief creates a self-fulfilling prophecy. When we expect to be tired, we become tired. When we anticipate energy loss, we experience energy loss. Our bodies and minds faithfully manifest what we deeply believe to be true. Now, I want to go even deeper into this topic by examining what really happens when we feel depleted. The truth about fatigue isn't what you might expect, and understanding its actual source is the first step toward liberation from its grip. If you're recognizing these patterns in your own life, write in the comments, "I'm ready for transformation." The truth about fatigue isn't what you might expect, and understanding its actual source is the first step toward liberation from its grip. Here's the radical insight that changes everything. Energy is not a quantity you own, but a quality of the spirit, and the spirit does not get tired. This revelation completely shifts our paradigm. We're no longer focused on obtaining more energy through external means, but aligning ourselves with the energy that already exists within us. This subtle distinction makes all the difference in our daily experience. Think about the moments when you felt most alive, most present, most powerful. In those moments, you didn't create new energy. You simply remove the barriers between you and your source. The breakthrough comes when we realize that what we call fatigue is not the result of giving too much of ourselves, but of losing connection with our source. Spiritual energy operates like the living water Jesus described. It doesn't run out, become contaminated, or stagnate. It flows eternally if we keep the channel open. The only thing that interrupts this flow is our own resistance, our own disconnection, our own forgetting of who we truly are. This brings us to a profound understanding about how we operate in the world. When we live primarily from the ego, that part of us that believes it's separate, limited, and solely responsible for everything, we inevitably become drained. The ego, by its very nature, cannot sustain itself because it has no true source of its own. But when we live from what Emmett Fox calls the inner Christ, that divine center of wisdom, love, and power within us, we expand rather than contract. This expansion happens not because we're doing less, but because we're acting from a different axis altogether. We're allowing a greater power to work through us, rather than trying to generate power from our limited sense of self. Consider how this principle might transform your everyday decisions. When you approach a challenging task, are you drawing solely on your personal reserves, or are you opening yourself to a deeper wellspring of creativity and strength? The distinction may seem subtle, but its impact is revolutionary. Let's explore how this principle manifests in our practical, everyday moments, and why so many of us struggle to maintain our connection with this infinite source. If you're beginning to sense this deeper reality within yourself, write in the comments, "I can feel the source." Let's explore how this principle manifests in our practical, everyday moments, and why so. Many of us struggle to maintain our connection with this infinite source. One of the most counterintuitive revelations in this journey is about the nature of rest itself. We've been conditioned to believe that rest means inactivity stopping, disconnecting, shutting down. But true rest, what Emmett Fox calls active rest of the soul, is something altogether different. Rest, in its deepest sense, means to stop resisting, not to stop moving. This explains the paradox we've all observed. Some people do virtually nothing, yet remain perpetually exhausted, while others work tirelessly with ever-growing energy. The former resist life, even in their inactivity. The latter flow with it, even in their action. Think of water in a river. When it flows freely, it has tremendous power and clarity. When it encounters resistance, it creates turbulence and loses energy. Our consciousness works in much the same way. The resistance of worry, fear, resentment, and judgment creates inner turbulence that depletes us far more than any physical activity ever could. The ancient wisdom of waiting on the Lord is often misunderstood as passive expectation. But this sacred pause doesn't mean inaction. It signifies connection, active trust, and inner alignment. It's about becoming an open channel for an energy that doesn't originate from human effort, but flows through us from a higher source. When you align your consciousness with this principle, you operate from a different foundation altogether. Instead of pushing against life, you move with it. Instead of forcing outcomes, you allow them to unfold. This shift in consciousness doesn't diminish your effectiveness. It amplifies it exponentially while simultaneously reducing the sense of strain and depletion. What I'm sharing isn't simply a collection of techniques to temporarily feel better. It's a practical pathway to reconnect with your source, your authentic essence. You were created to express the divine, which gave you spirit with its inexhaustible wellspring of energy. You were never intended to experience a life of energetic scarcity, constantly managing depletion. The paradigm shift occurs when we recognize that our natural state is abundance, not lack. Our birthright is vitality, not exhaustion. Our purpose is expression, not conservation. Let's now examine what happens within us when we make this profound shift from struggling against life to dancing with it. If you've experienced moments of this effortless flow in your own life, write in the comments, "I know this flow." Let's now examine what happens within us when we make this profound shift from struggling against life to dancing with it. Chapter 1 of Emmett Fox's teaching confronts us with a revolutionary concept. Fatigue itself is an illusion. This isn't just positive thinking. It's a fundamental reassessment of what we've accepted as reality. Modern humanity has resigned itself to a belief system where fatigue is inevitable. We wake up expecting to be tired. We navigate our days anticipating energy crashes. We end our evenings collapsed in exhaustion. We've accepted this as the natural rhythm of existence, the unavoidable price of being alive. But what if this entire framework is a form of collective hypnosis? What if we've been initiated into a trance state where we manifest the very limitation we've been taught to expect? The purpose of this teaching is to awaken you from this hypnotic state, to help you see that fatigue is not a physical reality, but a mental fabrication. This revelation might seem challenging at first, perhaps even impossible, but consider the evidence in your own experience. Haven't you had days when you were physically active for hours yet felt energized because you were engaged in something meaningful? Haven't you also had days when you did very little yet felt completely drained because your mind was caught in worry or resistance? The body isn't creating these experiences, it's responding to them. The body is not the originator of fatigue, but the faithful servant of thought. Whatever the mind decrees, the body manifests. This isn't mystical thinking, but a practical insight into the mind-body connection that even modern science increasingly confirms. Here's where the transformation begins. Understanding that your human body is not a machine with limited fuel that inevitably runs down. It's an instrument of the soul, a vessel designed to express infinite life. And the soul, your essential nature, does not tire. The energy giving life to your body doesn't originate in food, sleep, or supplements, but flows from the infinite spirit that animates all existence. This perspective invites a profound question. If the energy animating us is infinite, why do we experience limitation? Let's explore how our perception creates our experience, and how changing our fundamental assumptions about energy completely transforms our daily reality. If you've ever experienced unexpected energy when doing something you love, write in the comments. Energy follows passion. If you've ever experienced unexpected energy when doing something you love, there's a profound reason for this phenomenon. When fatigue arises in our experience, it's not because our spirit, our essential nature, has become exhausted. It's because our mind is disconnected from that inexhaustible source. This insight reveals something revolutionary. The cause of all fatigue is mental, not physical, and its roots lie deep in the subconscious mind. Beneath your conscious awareness, a complex network of beliefs, images, and assumptions operates continuously, dictating how much energy you believe you have access to. These subconscious patterns function like invisible boundaries, limiting your vitality without your awareness. This explains one of life's most fascinating paradoxes. One person can work in their garden for 10 hours and feel more energized at day's end than when they began, while another can sit at a desk for 2 hours without lifting a folder and feel utterly drained. The difference isn't in the task, it's in the inner attitude brought to it. The gardener who loves their work aligns with the flow of life, while the office worker resisting their task creates internal resistance. Our energy levels aren't determined by caloric expenditure, but by our relationship to what we're doing. This brings us to a crucial revelation. Fatigue comes not from work itself, but from inner friction produced by thought. Imagine a lumberjack working from sunrise to sunset, cutting trees without ever sharpening his axe. Each strike requires more effort than the last. Each cut becomes less effective. By evening, he can barely lift the tool. What exhausted him wasn't the work of cutting trees, but his misalignment with his tool. The same principle applies to us. When we act without sharpening our consciousness, without aligning our thoughts with truth, we create internal friction. Our mind grows blunt with images of struggle, sacrifice, and limitation. We tell ourselves, this is hard, and our body faithfully translates that message into heaviness. We decree, I can't go on, and our physical form obediently collapses. Let's explore how to realign our mental blade, how to sharpen our consciousness, so that our actions flow from harmony rather than resistance. What if the key to boundless energy isn't doing less, but thinking differently? If you've noticed how your thoughts affect your energy levels, write in the comments. My mind shapes my experience. Let's explore how to realign our mental blade, how to sharpen our consciousness so that our actions flow from harmony rather than resistance. When we operate without this crucial alignment, our mind grows increasingly dull, clouded with images of struggle, sacrifice, and limitation. Like a faithful servant, the body simply manifests what the mind dictates. If we decree fatigue, the body produces fatigue. If we decree renewal, it manifests renewal just as readily. This revelation places tremendous power and responsibility in our hands. Our physical experience isn't dictated by external circumstances, but by our internal dialogue. The body has no opinion about whether it should feel energized or depleted. It simply responds to the instructions it receives from consciousness. This isn't a burden, but a liberation. It means we can transform our experience by transforming our thought patterns. Isaiah's timeless promise offers profound guidance. Here, those who wait on the Lord shall renew their strength. They shall mount up with wings like eagles. They shall run and not be weary. They shall walk and not faint. This isn't poetry. It's a precise description of what happens when we realign with our source. When we wait upon the Lord, when we connect with the divine principle within, our strength naturally renews itself. This renewal isn't mysterious or complicated. It's our natural state when we remove the barriers we've placed between ourselves and our source. Like eagles catching an updraft, we rise not through struggle, but through alignment with forces greater than ourselves. We run the marathon of life without weariness, because we're drawing on energy that doesn't originate in our limited sense of self. Yet many of us claim we have no time for this essential spiritual rest. We declare our lives too demanding, our responsibilities too numerous, our schedules too packed. I cannot stop even for 5 minutes, we insist. But look closer at how we actually spend our time. These same people check their phones dozens of times per hour, engage in purposeless conversations, and consistently distract themselves to avoid feeling what's actually present. The question isn't whether we have time for spiritual rest, it's whether we recognize its absolute necessity. Let's explore what happens when we prioritize the renewal of the soul over the constant noise of distraction. If you've felt the need for deeper renewal beyond mere physical rest, write in the comments, "My soul seeks restoration." Let's explore what happens when we prioritize the renewal of the soul over the constant noise of distraction. The profound truth is that the rest of the soul isn't a luxury for peaceful times or a reward for hard work. It's an absolute necessity, an urgency that cannot be postponed. This isn't an escape from responsibility, but vital maintenance of our most precious instrument, our consciousness. Think of it as the greatest act of self-love you can offer yourself. Without this essential renewal, everything you do becomes tinged with a subtle fog, not physical fatigue, exactly, but something more pervasive, a dimming of vision, a draining of enthusiasm, a transformation of each day into a shapeless burden rather than a meaningful journey. There's a revelation in Jesus' famous invitation that we often overlook. He didn't say, "Come to me, and I will give you more tasks, more obligations, more ways to prove your worth." Instead, he offered something revolutionary. "Come to me, and I will give you rest." This wasn't presented as a reward for good behavior, but as a condition of existence itself, a spiritual law as fundamental as gravity. The wisdom traditions have always understood what modern culture has forgotten. Only a rested soul can truly love, serve, create, and endure without breaking. The soul at peace possesses an invulnerability that no external circumstance can penetrate, not because it's disconnected from reality, but because it's connected to something deeper than the changing surfaces of life. When the soul seeks God amidst noise, it's not trying to escape the world, but to remember its true identity within it. This remembrance isn't abstract philosophy. It's a practical restoration of your authentic state. Like wiping clean a mirror that's become clouded, this inner stillness doesn't add something new, but reveals what was always there. The irony is that most of us resist this very rest that would make everything else in our lives more effective, more joyful, more impactful. Let's examine why we resist this essential restoration and how we can overcome the hidden barriers to receiving the very peace our souls most deeply crave. If you've experienced moments of profound peace that seem to come from nowhere, write in the comments, "Peace finds me when I let go." Let's examine why we resist this essential restoration and how we can overcome the hidden barriers to receiving the very peace our souls most deeply crave. Now we arrive at chapter 15, which reveals the secret center of everything we've discussed. Christ is not merely an elevated idea or a religious symbol, but living energy, a tangible, powerful, inexhaustible force present within you right now, waiting to be recognized and expressed. This revelation may challenge our conventional understanding. For centuries, Christ has been taught primarily as a historical figure, a moral teacher, or an external redeemer who saves us from afar. All of these perspectives have value, but they've often obscured the essential truth that transforms everyday experience. Christ is an internal presence, a center of power within each human being. The Christ that Paul spoke of in his letters, the Christ the apostles experienced after the resurrection, wasn't a distant figure to be worshipped from afar. It was an internal reality captured in that revolutionary phrase, Christ in you, the hope of glory. Not Christ over there, but Christ here within your consciousness, at the core of your being. This isn't abstract theology. It's practical spirituality that transforms your relationship with energy itself. When we recognize this inner presence, we understand that we don't have to generate power through personal effort. We don't have to struggle to maintain it or fear its loss. We don't have to conserve it as if it were a limited battery, because we're not the source. We are the channel. The profound shift in perspective happens when we realize we're not alone in our endeavors. The mistake that leads to depletion begins when we believe everything depends entirely on us, our strength, our effort, our discipline. That's where fatigue is born. But when we recognize the higher energy within us, an active principle that never tires or diminishes, then the silent miracle occurs. Energy multiplies without depletion. We access a wellspring that doesn't run dry, regardless of external demands. Let's explore how this inner recognition transforms not just our spiritual understanding, but our tangible, everyday experience of vitality and purpose. If you've ever felt a power within that seemed greater than your personal strength, write in the comments, "There's a greater power within me." Let's explore how this inner recognition transforms not just our spiritual understanding, but our tangible, everyday experience of vitality and purpose. The revelation that liberates us from chronic fatigue is beautifully simple. You don't have to generate your own energy or struggle to maintain it, because you are not the source. You are the channel. This perspective shift changes everything. Fatigue is born the moment you believe everything depends entirely on your personal strength, your individual effort, your limited resources. When you carry the world on your shoulders, of course, you become exhausted. But what if you were never meant to be the originator of power, but its conduit? What if your role isn't to create energy, but to allow it to flow through you unobstructed? When you recognize the higher energy within you, an active principle that never tires, never diminishes, never runs dry, a transformation occurs that defies conventional understanding. Energy begins to multiply without depletion. What was exhausting becomes invigorating. What was heavy becomes light. Not because the external circumstances have changed, but because your relationship to them has been fundamentally transformed. This inner Christ. Energy isn't a concept or metaphor, but a real presence that can be experienced directly. It's not something you have to achieve through spiritual gymnastics or earn through good behavior. It's already present within you, waiting to be acknowledged and expressed. The barrier to experiencing this power isn't its absence, but our lack of recognition. Here's where the journey becomes practical rather than mystical. This activation doesn't require extraordinary experiences, visions, or supernatural phenomena. It requires something much simpler, yet more profound: recognition. The energy of Christ begins to flow when you sincerely declare, "It is not I who live, but Christ who lives in me." This isn't a poetic statement or religious affirmation, but a transfer of center. Fundamental shift in identity and operation. Previously, you considered yourself the main actor, the ultimate responsible party, the doer of all things. That belief system inevitably led to depletion. But when you recognize yourself as an instrument of something greater, the entire dynamic changes. Let's explore what happens in your daily life when this shift in perception becomes your lived reality. If you've ever sensed you are meant to be a channel for something greater, write in the comments, "I am a vessel for greater purpose." Let's explore what happens in your daily life when this shift in perception becomes your lived reality. When you truly recognize yourself as an instrument of the Christ presence within, everything changes at a fundamental level. Previously, you considered yourself the main actor, the ultimate responsible party, the doer of all things, and that's precisely why you became fatigued. The ego was never designed to carry the weight of existence alone. But when you recognize yourself as an instrument of something greater, a remarkable transformation occurs. You no longer merely work, you serve. And service has a completely different energetic signature than labor. Work depletes. Service fulfills. Work exhausts. Service energizes. Work is about what you accomplish. Service is about what flows through you. This renewal isn't primarily emotional or psychological. It's structural. It doesn't begin on the surface with temporary feelings of inspiration or motivation that quickly fade. It begins deep within your consciousness and manifests in tangible ways throughout your everyday life. The person who lives from this Christ center works more yet tires less, gives more yet, empties less, walks further yet feels lighter. This isn't because their body suddenly operates according to different physical laws, but because their channel is open. Christ sustains them from within, rather than them trying to sustain themselves through sheer force of will. They're no longer the source of their own power, but the expression of a power that never diminishes. To help you enter this state, which isn't theoretical, but profoundly experiential, a specific visualization practice can serve as a doorway. This isn't just another meditation technique or relaxation exercise. It's more like turning on the main generator of your soul, activating the primary power source that transforms everything else. This visualization isn't something you do once and check off your list. It's a practice that gradually shifts your center of operation from the limited ego to the unlimited Christ within. Through consistent application, what begins as a conscious exercise becomes your natural state of being. Let's explore this powerful visualization that bridges the gap between intellectual understanding and lived experience. If you found visualization practices helpful in transforming your consciousness, write in the comments, "My inner vision creates my reality." Let's explore this powerful visualization that bridges the gap between intellectual understanding and lived experience. Begin by sitting or standing with your spine straight, but not rigid. Close your eyes and take 3 deep, conscious breaths, not to force anything, but to center your awareness in the present moment. Now, bring your attention to the center of your chest. Not the physical heart precisely, but that symbolic space where you feel your deepest sense of self. In this sacred center, imagine a golden light beginning to glow. This isn't a dim or flickering light, but a brilliant, vibrant flame, not violent or chaotic, but steady, alive, and radiant. A flame that burns without consuming, that vibrates with life, without agitation. This golden flame isn't just a mental image. It represents the Christ presence within you. It's the visual representation of that divine spark that has always been there, often unrecognized beneath the noise of everyday consciousness. As you hold this image, feel its warmth, its vitality, its unwavering presence. The profound truth of this practice is that you're not creating something new or summoning something from outside yourself. You're not performing spiritual gymnastics to earn or achieve this presence. The flame is already there, has always been there. You're simply removing the veils of forgetfulness and reconnecting with what is eternally present. As you continue, silently acknowledge this presence with words like, "Here I am. Be you in me. Shine." This isn't a plea to a distant power, but a recognition of your true nature, an invitation to what already exists within to express itself more fully through you. Now, visualize this energy beginning to flow from the golden flame at your center. Feel it spreading first throughout your chest, then flowing into your abdomen, rising to your head, extending through your arms, and finally flowing down through your legs to your feet. Every cell becomes infused with this clear, light, strong energy. As this happens, affirm silently or aloud, "Christ in me is perfect energy. Christ in me is my true vitality." Feel your body becoming lighter, more transparent to this flow, more responsive to this inner presence. This isn't just imagination. It's a realignment with the deepest truth of your being. Let's explore how to integrate this practice into your daily life and the remarkable difference it makes when consistently applied. If you've ever felt a warm glow in your heart center during meditation or prayer, write in the comments, "I know the inner flame." Let's explore how to integrate this practice into your daily life and the remarkable difference it makes when consistently applied. When doing this visualization, it's important to understand that you're not seeking emotional excitement or spiritual thrills. The goal isn't to manufacture feelings, but to cultivate presence. Many spiritual seekers become discouraged when they don't experience dramatic emotions during their practice. But the true power lies in simply being present with what is, allowing the reality of the inner Christ to reveal itself naturally. When you complete this practice, carry its essence into your day with a simple affirmation. Today, I do not act alone. Christ acts in me. This isn't a religious statement, but a practical reminder of your true operating system. This visualization, practiced with reverence and consistency, doesn't just give you momentary strength. It brings lasting clarity and authentic joy that doesn't depend on external circumstances. What makes this approach revolutionary is that the energy of Christ doesn't just sustain you through difficult times or elevate you in spiritual moments. Actually regenerates and transforms your entire being from the inside out. Old patterns of thinking that led to depletion begin to dissolve. New pathways of perception that align with abundance naturally emerge. This transformation isn't something you create through willpower. It's what happens when you remove the barriers to your true nature. The greatest truth, the revelation that changes everything, is that you don't have to earn this energy. You don't have to deserve it, achieve it, or become worthy of it. You only need to accept it. It's already yours, already present, already active within you. Your recognition and acceptance are the keys that unlock what has always been there. This brings deeper meaning to everything we've discussed. Every technique, every concept, every prayer finds its true significance in the living awareness of Christ as renewing energy within you. Without this source activated and acknowledged, all spiritual effort remains partial, all techniques limited in their effectiveness. But with this source consciously engaged, you can live without the exhaustion, fragmentation, and inner exile that characterize so much of modern existence. Let's explore how this inner transformation naturally expresses itself in your outer world, creating a life of authentic power and purpose. If you've experienced moments when effort gave way to effortless flow, write in the comments, "I know what it means to be carried." Let's explore how this inner transformation naturally expresses itself in your outer world, creating a life of authentic power and purpose. What we're discussing isn't merely a technique to try or a concept to understand. It represents a completely new beginning in your relationship with energy itself. This revelation transforms not just isolated moments of your experience, but the entire foundation of how you move through the world. You were never made for fatigue, resignation, or perpetual weariness. These states aren't your natural condition, but symptoms of disconnection from your source. Your authentic design is to radiate, not dim, to flow, not struggle, to serve from the inexhaustible energy of your inner Christ, rather than deplete yourself through ego-driven effort. This understanding doesn't just change how you feel, revolutionizes what you can accomplish. Imagine approaching your most demanding responsibilities, not with the question, "Do I have enough energy for this?" but with the certainty, "The source within me is unlimited." This shift doesn't make you irresponsible or unrealistic about your human limitations. Instead, it connects you to a deeper dimension of being where those limitations are transcended. The culmination of this teaching is captured in a prayer that isn't about asking for something you lack, but acknowledging what's already present. Living Christ in me, you are not an idea. You are living energy. You are the fire that does not go out, the light that does not fade, the force that does not rest because it does not tire. This prayer continues with a profound surrender. Christ, be in me all that I must be. Work in me, think in me, breathe in me, live in me. May every cell shine with your energy. May every action of mine be an expression of your power. With this recognition comes the liberating truth. I no longer walk alone. I no longer serve alone. I no longer exhaust myself because you, inner Christ, are my inexhaustible source. As you integrate this awareness into your daily consciousness, everything shifts. Tasks that once drained you become opportunities for service. Challenges that once overwhelmed you become invitations to deeper connection. Let's explore the practical application of this principle in specific areas of your life where energy seems most depleted. If you've had glimpses of what it means to live from an inexhaustible source, write in the comments, I am ready to live from abundance as we bring this exploration of your infinite energy source to a close. I hope you've glimpsed the profound potential within you. This journey of recognizing the Christ presence as your true source of vitality isn't just a spiritual concept. It's a practical pathway to living with boundless energy in a world that often leaves us depleted. If you found value in these insights and want to continue exploring the art of spiritual renewal, consider subscribing to our channel. Each week, we delve into these transformative teachings that bridge ancient wisdom with practical application for modern life. Has this message resonated with your own experience? If you've made it all the way through this exploration, I'd love to know you're here. Simply write, "My source is unlimited," in the comments below. It's a powerful affirmation of what you've just discovered about yourself. If you found this perspective helpful, a simple like helps others discover these teachings as well. It's a small gesture that creates ripples of transformation beyond what you might imagine. The journey doesn't end here. There's a video right here that explores how to apply this energy principle specifically to healing physical conditions. Click and continue with me there as we take this understanding even deeper into practical application. Until then, remember you were made not for exhaustion, but for radiance, not for depletion, but for infinite expression.